The first guest of the evening is truly a poet. He's an artist. He is a friend and an inspiration to anyone who has ever played the guitar or tried to write poetry. Would you please welcome Gordon Lightfoot?
Travel with me if you choose into a land of notions. Through the ruins of yesteryear, set your mind in motion. Be beside me, win or lose. I will not forsake thee. I must do, so must you. Now, will you go with me? This is Carefree Highway Revisited, the show that celebrates Gordon Lightfoot's music song by song, a proud member of the That's Not Canon podcast network. And this is our opening of season 4. I'm your host, Mike Messner, and with me today is a fellow Lightfoot fan and a good friend making her 6th appearance on the show from Chippewa, Quebec, Adele Chalifoux. Adele, thank you so much. It's great to see you again.
Hi, Mike. I can't believe it's 6. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is amazing. Now, you wanted to talk about Whisper My Name, which is, I don't want to say it's obscure, but it's certainly not as well known in the Lightfoot canon for reasons that we'll get into a little bit later. I know that for me, it's a very mature approach to love and relationships. I mean, this is not someone who is gaga about someone else. It's hard for me sometimes to realize this is the same man who wrote Approaching Lavender. He's making sure he can trust this person before he makes some sort of commitment to her. Probably being cautious, and maybe that's something that comes with age. That's why I like the song so much. But why did you want to talk about it today?
I think for me, this song, it's funny you say that it's lesser known because I guess it is more of a deep cut. But for me, it's one of my top favorites of his. And I think it's just such a beautiful love song. And it's set to such beautiful imagery. Like Gordon's so masterful at weaving this beautiful web of story and imagery. So it was just, again, it's just one of my favorites. And it's just so beautiful. It's so poetic. I think it should be more well known than it is.
You said it was a deep cut. It's on Dream Street Rose. It's the 5th song on side 1. So it doesn't get deeper than that. It's very economical. It is very poetic. Of course, it has great images. It wasn't released as a single. We'll talk more about that later. Do you have any anecdotes about the song or why you came to like it? Is there a particular memory you associate with the song?
Nothing really that stands out. My family and I live in the wilderness and we're bush loving folk. And it just really brings to mind the forest and the trees and all that beautiful imagery, nature imagery that Gordon Lightfoot is so iconically known for. And I think that's probably why I connected to it, like all my other songs that we've talked about. It's just, to me, this is quintessentially Lightfoot. It's so poetic and just whimsical, but it is, like you said, very mature and it's very deep when you read the lyrics and you give it a chance.
And it does, I think, show that he had matured also as a songwriter. I mean, he was probably 40, 41 when this happened. And he's been through his relationship with Britta, of course, and now the relationship with Kathy Smith has ended. He has relationships and he'll end up getting married a second and then a third time. But he does have a view on love that he didn't have and couldn't have the same view when he was in his 20s. It's just part of life. You mentioned that you live in the wilderness, and that's something you and I have talked about a lot. Is there a particular setting that you could listen to this song that would be ideal for you, or is this one that you could listen anywhere, anytime, under any circumstances?
I definitely think I could listen to this anywhere. For me, it's a very comforting song. So it kind of conjures up thoughts of my own life, maybe my own husband, or just being comfortable at home with your family, with the person you love. So for me, I could listen to it anywhere. I could listen to it in a beautiful setting like I'm in right now, with the trees are changing all their colors because it's fall. I could listen to this on a summer day. I could listen to it in the car. I could listen to it kind of contemplative in a quiet moment. I can listen to this anywhere.
I would only want to listen to it because I'm one who gets really caught up in lyrics and in really powerful orchestration. And of course, the lyrics are beautiful, but to me, they don't demand my attention the same way that The Wreck or The Last Time I Saw Her might demand, where, okay, you drop everything else and you have to just focus on the song. This is one song that I would love to have playing in the background while I'm grading, doing stuff for school, or maybe having a meal, because the lyrics are pleasant and straightforward enough so that I'm not wondering about, oh, wow, what does he mean by this? Or thinking about the tattletale sound from the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Okay, so what does he mean by a tattletale sound? So they're lovely without being, they don't kidnap me, I guess is what I'm saying. This is also somewhat of a rarity in that I cannot find anywhere any stories about how this song got written. It's not mentioned in the Nicholas Jennings book at all. I don't think it was mentioned on the songbook liner notes. So I'm wondering, do you have an angle on how the thing got written?
I have no idea. Like with so many of his songs, they're just kind of phantom-like, and they just kind of appear out of his spectacular brain. So I don't know. The only thing I do know is that he was with Kathy Coonley at the time. They
Yeah.
were kind of on and off. So that's the only thing that I know about this. I couldn't find anything about it. So just we'll go through history as just being one of those many mysterious Lightfoot songs to me.
And a beautiful one at that. Well, then we're stumped on how it got written, and sadly, Gordon is not here to tell us, so we're just going to leave it as a mystery.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the lyrics now. I said that they were intriguing without being absolutely mesmerizing, but there are a few things that I think here especially intriguing. Travel with me if you choose into a land of notions. Now, notions are ideas. So he's telling her that the time with him, they're going to be doing a fair amount of travel through the cranial swamp, that he's a very thoughtful guy and he expects that she will respect that and that it will also be a thoughtful relationship. It's not going to be a surface level thing. It's going to be an intellectual love as well as a heartfelt love. Through the ruins of yesteryear, set your mind in motion. And I thought to myself, is he really saying that his past had been a ruin or a failure? Or is he saying that it's just like anything that's very, very old, it's going to kind of fall apart like the Greek ruins or something like that? What do you think he meant by there?
You know, it could be taken so many different ways. It could be about his past. It could be potentially a lot of his relationships were on and off, on and off, on and off. So potentially that could be also what it is referring to. Maybe making a new start. That's how I would take it. Or that he's talking about maybe his past mistakes as well, or his past relationships of yesteryear.
Yeah, and he, as he said very openly, he certainly made his mistakes in relationships with women. That may be what he's talking about, because I can't imagine he'd describe his career as being a ruin. I mean, he's been, marvelously successful. And by 1979, he'd established himself as being a superstar. Okay, after Endless Wire, I understand that there was a decline in sales, but his artistry certainly never declined. Be beside me, win or lose, I will not forsake thee. So he's committing, and he's asking the same for her. And then the most intriguing line in the song, I must do, so must you. Now will you go with me? Now, I got to think to myself, do what? Or is he talking about, I must be sufficient, I must suffice, this is the best you get?
Could he be talking about commitment? I know he talks about commitment in relationships was kind of on and off. And I know at one point he says that he thought of marriage as kind of like an entrapment. So maybe he means I must settle down and commit, and you have to as well to make this work.
It could also be that when we think about traditional wedding vows, I mean, you say, I do. I don't know if he ever proposed marriage to Kathy Conley, but it's certainly possible that that's playing into his mind because he, had taken the vow before and he knows that line. I will build a home for you to keep you warm each winter, lemon lilies at your door to give you in September. So he's offering stability for her, which is something that she clearly values. He doesn't live a stable life as a professional musician, so that's kind of an interesting thing there. But again, by the time he's 40, he's in a position now where he probably could settle down if he truly wanted to.
You're listening to Carefree Highway Revisited. We'll be right back after a word from a podcast partner or two. Hey, I just wanted to take a second to tell you about my latest podcast discovery. Fire Breathing Kittens is an actual play one-shot podcast that plays various tabletop role-playing games with a season-long plot. Because there's a beginning and an end to each week's story, you can start at any episode. Yeah, you won't miss a thing. Every week has a different combination of 4 from the same rotating cast of people. Join Fire-Breathing Kittens as they solve detective mysteries, attempt comedic banter, and enjoy friendship. That's Fire-Breathing Kittens podcast. Check it out.
In 1942, when the world needed a hero to fight the forces of evil, a woman had the courage to step forward. Her name was Helen Meeker. Her adventures took her across the United States and behind the lines of both the European and Pacific fronts. President Franklin Roosevelt trusted her judgment. Adolf Hitler put a price on her head. And in the face of overwhelming odds, she battled through everything that was thrown at her, dodged death countless times, and challenged the most diabolical figures in history. The star of more than 20 novels, Helen Meeker proved her grit and determination time and time again. And now the Long Highway Players bring the book series to life on the airways. These exciting dramas will place you in the middle of the action, immerse you in riveting drama, plunge you into unimagined intrigue, and confound you with dark mysteries, while giving you the opportunity to live adventures in a time when the fate of the world hung in the balance. Enjoy the exploits of Helen Meeker and follow author Ace Collins's In the President's Service series on That's Not Canon Podcast Network.
Lemon lilies, you don't find those in Canada, and you don't find those in the US. At least they're not native to either of those areas. You find them in China, you find them in parts of Italy, and you find them in Slovenia. You think there's any significance to those particular flowers, or is that poetic license? Is he just being romantic?
I would like to think he's absolutely just obviously being romantic. To me, that those kind of 3 lines are some of my favorites of the song. So maybe whoever he was writing this for, maybe yellow was her favorite color.
Yeah.
In the world of colored flowers, I know yellow usually symbolizes friendship as well. So maybe that has something to do with it. Or maybe she just really liked lilies.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, we have our own version of that down here, which is the yellow rose of Texas. I don't know what yellow flowers are endemic to Canada. Do you?
Well, you can find, yellow roses. I'm trying to think of the wildflowers around here. We have buttercups and things like that. So other than that, I'm not much of a gardener, but
Me either.
My mother, she loves yellow roses, for example. So I would always get those for her. So could mean a lot of things. Could be an inside thing too with whoever he wrote this for.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think that's probably it. And it had occurred to me that she might just love yellow. I will take you as you stand. I promise to defend thee. So he's not asking her to change for him, which is so common among relationships, particularly when you're very young. I've been in relationships there where the agenda was, I love you, but I want you to change. And again, this is maturity talking. I mean, he's not asking her to change or be anything that she isn't. And then whisper my name as you pass through my life. Doesn't passing through kind of imply that she's going to be here for a while and then she's gone? And so I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting choice of words. Or maybe he just loves hearing her whisper his name to him, because that's also a very romantic thing here. As we go through this, I can understand why you love this song so much, because it's such a romantic in so many ways. And I know that you are a romantic.
I am, yes.
Whisper my name as you pass through my life. What's he talking about?
This is interesting because it makes me think that in other songs, he does sneaky references to Kathy Smith as well. So perhaps could this be a reference to, his on again, off again type of situations with the women in his life? Could it just be that he means that he'll always be around? All this person needs to do is say, pick up the phone or, call him and he'll be there. Could it also mean that? Again, it's a mystery.
There's really no other way that I can think about it, but he may also be a little cynical, just saying, as you pass through my life, because he's been in relationships with women that are no longer on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not to say that that is their fault. He made at least as many mistakes as the women in his life did. So he may be saying, for as long as you're going to be here. There's a hint of fear in that.
Mm.
Whisper my name when you fall. I'm just a dusty old memory you trust. Another amazing line, because he's saying he will be trustworthy. And the reason I said that is not because he's promising 100% fidelity, or maybe he is, but he didn't have a good track record at that point. But memories of events may get old, but the events themselves don't change, and neither will he. So this is a very elaborate way of him saying that he's dependable, is what it sounds like to me.
I definitely agree. And to me, this whole paragraph here, it really makes me think that he is trying to tell her that he'll always be there for her, no matter what life brings and what circumstances, whether they're together or not. Especially, I'm just a dusty old memory you trust. That makes me think like, they have a history. How long of a history do they have? But that he'll always be around. She just has to give him a call or say his name. That, to me, this is what that invokes for me.
Well, and the next line is, I'll be close by when you call.
Exactly.
It's just, when I think of dusty old memories, it's not romance, that comes to
no,
mind.
not at all.
Me being a historian, for me, it's kind of, okay, dust that off and open this book and see what's there. But it's not matters of the heart that I'm thinking of. So I thought that was an interesting turn of phrase. Give and take ain't always so. Seeing is believing. And it sounds like this is not just conversation. He wants her to commit. He doesn't want her to change who she is, but seeing is believing. He wants some sort of commitment. Down and out, don't stop the show. Staying is not leaving. That was very clever that he puts that in. I'm not really sure what the first phrase means. Down and out, don't stop the show. When you read the lyrics, there's no comma between the word out and the word don't. So it looks like he's saying down and out is not a reason to stop the show. But when I listen to it, I think about down and out, pause, don't stop the show. Am I wrong in reading the lines that way?
I definitely don't think so. I mean, he was the ultimate professional, I think, especially later in his career. So I think that can has two, a double meaning. It could mean to, if our relationship is having troubles, if we're going through a rocky patch, don't give up. I think it could mean that way. And it could also mean whatever happens on stage, the show must go on type of thing, which can also relate to a relationship as well. So it's very clever the way he wrote that.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Just because we're down and out doesn't mean that we call it quits.
Yeah.
We need to persist. And the metaphor of don't stop the show, of course, as an entertainer, that would make perfect sense here. Talk to me, run to me, whisper my name. Don't waste your love making friends.
I love that line.
Now, that to me is maybe one of the more intriguing one. Don't waste your love making friends. And the first thing that I think of is that making friends could be something that probably has been true since the sexual revolution, which is having friends with benefits. And he's saying, don't waste your time on people who they're going to give you a night of passion, but then tomorrow they're going to go back where they were, and you're just going to feel empty again. Maybe it's the fact that he wants her to just focus on him. That's the commitment idea coming again. That she shouldn't be talking to other guys. There may be a little bit of healthy jealousy there. So a lot of different ways you can go with this. What are your thoughts?
That's interesting. I never actually considered your take on that before. That never dawned on me. So that's a pretty interesting. I like that take. To me, it just friendships are hard to maintain and they take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot goes into having a relationship. So like you said, maybe he's saying, I want all of your focus, your energy onto me. Maybe he's saying that friends can't always necessarily be trusted, especially in the entertainment business. It's easy to sell a story to a newspaper, to tabloid, whatever. That's how I always took it. Like, don't waste your time making friends because they can turn on you. What are their motives? He kind of questions that. It's hard to make friends in everyday life. I can't imagine being a rich and powerful entertainer because you probably would always be questioning the motives of people. Can that be it? I don't know.
In Hollywood, and let's face it, I mean, Gordon had to be faced with a lot of the LA culture. And the Hollywood culture then as now is people who are out for their own. They want to get rich and famous. So they kind of say, I love you, babe. But they throw those lines off like they mean nothing. And
Absolutely.
Gordon obviously takes the idea of love very, very seriously. And again, I don't know anything about Kathy Cooley or the kind of circle she ran in. Maybe that'll be my homework assignment before we meet again. But was she caught up in this world of the entertainment business? That may have been something where he was making sort of an oblique reference to it.
Could absolutely, because in Daylight Katie, which was written about Kathy, he does make reference to her high-heeled friends as well. So maybe it's connected in that way somehow.
Ah, very good. I am shown up again by someone who knows more about Gordon than I do. Thank you. We've both had enough of that wonderful stuff. It's too easy to sin. And again, sin sounds like code for sex without love or a one-night stand. So he may be a little bit sarcastic about that. Oh, yes, that wonderful stuff. Because I can't imagine that Gordon by this time hadn't had a whole lot of one-night stands, and he alludes to them in some songs. And I think many people in the 70s, and particularly many people in the 70s in the entertainment business, had one-night stands. They do now, too, of course, but it's much more of a cultural thing in the 70s. And that is kind of the end of the lyrics. So there are some very intriguing lines in this, probably as many things that make you stop and think as most other of his songs. So I'm really happy you chose this one because it's fun to listen to and fun to talk about.
You're listening to Carefree Highway Revisited. We'll be right back after a word from a podcast partner or two.
Hi, this is Audie Martello, the host of the Mostly Folk podcast, a 60-minute foray into the music we all love. You will hear newly released albums, classic folk, country, and bluegrass music, as well as some traditional music that may or may not be true to the genre. Sometimes irreverent, often opinionated, but always entertaining. You may even hear a radio magic trick every so often, as well as numerous interviews via Zoom and telephone with established as well as indie artists. Mostly Folk is available wherever you listen to podcasts, and always at mostlyfolk.org.
Sanjo, look!
Yes, Zach? Wait, what's that thing you're holding up?
It's a time travel device. We can use it to go back to the past and watch movies.
But we already do that on our podcast, Oldie But a Goodie.
No, on previous episodes we were pretending to time travel. Now we can do it for real.
Cool, so we can really go back to like the 80s or the 90s?
No, Sanjo, you're thinking too little. I mean, we could go really far back, like we traveled back over 100 years into the past.
Oh, but Zach, that's so far in the past. Those movies would be old.
Yeah, but, well, our show is called Oldie But a Goodie, so we should probably do old movies.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's right, folks. This year on Oldie But a Goodie, we're going back further than ever before.
Wait, who are you talking to?
We're starting in 1920s, doing one movie from that year, and then moving up to 1921. And we're continuing that until the year 1969.
Nice.
Join our time-traveling journey through cinema by subscribing now to Oldie But a Goodie, out wherever you get your podcasts.
A That's Not Canon Productions podcast.
Well, the song was originally on Dream Street Rose, which was his 13th original album. It was recorded in 1979 and then released in 1980, which was another year when almost everything happened. It was produced by Lightfoot, Lenny Waronker, which is the last time he and Gordon will work together, and then Russ Tittleman. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. As I said, it was the 5th song on the record. It was the last song on side A. It was not released as a single, and I kind of see why. This is a deep track. The album went to 76 in Australia, number 1 in the Canadian country charts, and I don't think of Dream Street Rose necessarily as a country album, but there you go. Number 9 in the Canada top albums, 58 on the U.S. country albums, and 60 on the U.S. Billboard. So this isn't Summertime Dream, but that's respectable. And particularly in Canada, he always sold well. In the States, sales are slipping a little bit, but he made the top 100. So again, still pretty respectable. The musical elements, there were only 6 musicians that played on this record. So it's still a pretty tight group. There's the 5 and then one other person I'll mention in just a second. Adele, what is your favorite musical element of the song?
It's very, to me, I don't think whimsical is necessarily the right word, but it's a very light, soft, kind of, I guess, whimsical. I can't explain it. It's just how much I love it. It's just very gentle, but it's very deep at the same time. It's a very easy listening song. There's no hard drums. To me, it's just a very fantastical song. It's just kind of very soft and kind of very Whispers of the North. It's kind of like you're floating when you listen to this song. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, the word ethereal kind of comes to mind, when I think of that. The thing that I like about the guitars on this is that there is an electric guitar. It's sort of front and center, but it's a finger-picked electric guitar, which is fairly rare. Obviously, I know you can, but it's not something I have seen a lot of. And of course, you have the acoustic finger picking. So we usually think of electric guitars, you're right, as rock instruments and finger picking to be folk and country style. So he puts those two together. It doesn't make for a hit single, but it does make for a really nice mood because, you have a little bit of a hard edge with the electric instruments, but it's still, I hate the category easy listening, but it is easy to listen to, I guess.
Absolutely.
The way that I would say it. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Lightfoot on vocals and guitar, Terry Clements doing the finger-picked electric guitar on this, of course, Rick playing bass, Pee Wee playing pedal steel, Barry Keane playing drums and percussion, and then Michael O'Martian playing piano and keyboards. And I think he will show up in some other pockets of the Lightfoot Chronicles at some point. But that was it. That's the whole crew right there. There were no other guest artists that came in.
And that's the beauty of Lightfoot's music, right? It was just always simple. Most of it. I mean, it didn't have these grand orchestrations and things that, that came in when it was needed. But I think that's what's so wonderful about his music.
Yeah, he didn't need to have huge, elaborate instrumentation. And when he did have the orchestration, we talked about Randy Newman doing some of it and other people doing orchestration like for Don Quixote and things like that. It was very appropriate, but he didn't have to have it.
It's Song for a Winter's Night, right? The original had none of the bells and the whistles and anything. And then I think it was Gord's Gold that they did that one for. Both were beautiful, but if I had the choice, I would listen to the original over the fancy one, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and like I said, it adds a different tone to the song, but again, Gordon didn't write it thinking, okay, I need to have the Toronto Chamber Orchestra or, whomever it is recording in back of me. Interestingly, he only played this song twice in concert. The first time was at Massey Hall, appropriately, and that was on March 16th, 1979. He played it again about 6 months later in Chicago, and that was it. It was never played again in concert. It's a shame. But like so many other songs, Adele, that we've talked about on this show, when you have such an amazing number of songs that your audience wants to hear and resonates with. There's going to be some that are going to come out in the wash. And this is an unfortunate victim, but it is certainly not the only unfortunate victim of that. I mean, you got too many choices.
It is a shame, though, because this, to me, musically, it doesn't seem all that complicated. It doesn't seem like it would be a hard one to necessarily pull off live. I don't know why he never did this. It's too bad. It's really too bad because it's a beautiful piece of poetic work. And I'm sure he would have done a wonderful job hearing this live. That would have been just incredible. So I don't know why they never did that. It would be interesting to hear the reasoning why they pick and chose the ones that they did to play live.
Yeah. And again, it's another one of those things that we'll never know. And that's sad, but it is what it is. I could only find one cover of this song, and I didn't scour the entire internet, but I found that the Rice Brothers did this. Tony Rice did it on his solo albums, but I got to assume that the first cover was when he was with his brothers or when he was with that group before he went solo. Is there anybody that you'd like to hear do this song from modern music?
Modern? No, probably not. Let's be honest, modern, no. I don't think anyone could really do it justice. I would be interested to perhaps maybe hear Neil Young. That might be interesting because of his voice. I mean, I'd give it a shot. I wouldn't judge it. And of course, Dylan, because what in the world would Dylan do with it? I would just like to hear it from the creative standpoint. I think that would be pretty interesting. But yeah, no one of modern.
There was one name that I thought of before we went on the air today, and there's one that I've thought of since we've been talking. It would be fun to hear Joni Mitchell try this. When Joni Mitchell was in full voice, I'm talking, mid to late 70s, around the time of Court and Spark. Joni is not known for singing other people's words or singing other people's melodies, but I think I would like to hear her voice on this. I think that would be fun. More contemporary artists. He's not a young buck anymore, but I think George Strait might be fun to listen to do this because I love his voice. But in terms of people who are out there, I mean, I certainly don't want to hear Kid Cudi try this. I don't want to hear Beyonce try this. I'm not going to go along with Neil because I think he's much more rough-edged. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that is brilliant in its own way.
But Harvest Moon? But Harvest Moon is so soft and,
Okay, I'll tell you what. It could be, but I would want to hear his 1992 voice, not his 2024 voice.
That's fair.
Dylan.
It would be interesting. That's all I'm saying.
It would be interesting. That's something I'm going to have to chew on a little bit.
I just think everyone should listen to it, give it a good shot. And I think a lot of the deep cuts from Lightfoot are worth going back and finding again. I think a lot of people think of Lightfoot and of course they think of his big hits, Sundown, blah, blah, blah. But he was so much more than just those songs. His brain was just this wonderful piece of machinery that is so sorely missed. It's just such a beautiful, light, deep song that only Gordon could do. So I think people definitely need to give Gordon Lightfoot's later albums more of a shot than just his first couple, because he was a wonderful songwriter up until he was gone. And I don't think he's given credit for that.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that we do this podcast, right, is to let the world know kind of what they've missed. The analogy I would use is that if people think Oz is just Judy Garland, they've completely missed the point. And I think if people think of Lightfoot as just, if you could read my mind, again, they're missing something and they need to look more into that. Adele, always a lot of fun to talk with you. It's great to see you again, and I will look forward to having you back on the show again later this season because we're going to go for number 7, which will tie Deb Radwan's record, I think.
Oh, Deb, I'm coming for you, Deb.
And thanks for listening, everybody. If you like this well enough to listen to the whole thing, tell somebody about it. Carefree Highway Revisited is on Apple, Spotify, Acast, or wherever you get your listening matter. I'd like to make a special request for you to visit my Patreon page. I love this show so much and I want to keep it going, and you're in a position to help. Please head over to www.patreon.com/carefreehighwayrevisited. $1 or $2 a month is all I ask. You can reach me, Mike Messner, at teachermike72@gmail.com. Well, the next time we are together, I will be bringing in another Canadian friend of mine, Michael Howitt from Markham, Ontario. He and I will be discussing I'll Tag Along from the East of Midnight album from 1986, and that episode will be coming out in late October 2024. Until then, for Adele Chalifoux, this is Mike Messner reminding you, run for the roses, but don't forget to stop and smell them. We'll see you next time.